Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Elena. Do you ever feel like you're just one step away from true English fluency? You have the vocabulary, but it doesn't always connect with the confidence and clarity you want. That final step, that bridge from good English to great English, is exactly what today's masterclass is all about. We are going to move beyond textbook rules and unlock the skills of advanced communication. Choosing precise words, mastering a natural tone, and structuring your thoughts with elegance. By the end of this lesson, you'll have the tools to sound as intelligent and articulate in English as you are in your own language. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe because we provide transformative lessons like this every day. Now, when we talk about reaching an advanced level, what picture comes to mind? For many learners, it's an intimidating image of complicated, obscure words or extremely formal grammar structures. But let's redefine that right now. True advanced English isn't a performance of difficult vocabulary. It is the art of effortless communication. It's about the smoothness of your delivery, the accuracy of your word choice, and the appropriateness of your tone for any given situation. Think of it like a painter. A beginner might only use primary colors, but a master artist knows how to mix countless shades to create depth and emotion. Your words are your colors. For instance, in a casual chat with friends, you might simply say, "I'm a bit tired today." It's direct and perfectly fine. However, in a professional setting, perhaps emailing your manager, you might express the same feeling by writing, "I'm feeling slightly fatigued after a long day of meetings." The core meaning is identical, but the sophisticated word choice instantly changes the tone, making it fit the formal context perfectly. This ability to adapt is a hallmark of a truly advanced speaker. Let's put this into practice immediately with a quick interactive exercise. The goal is to feel the shift from simple to sophisticated. I'll give you a basic sentence and I want you to repeat the more advanced version after me, focusing on the change in tone. Here's the simple version. "I don't like this idea. It's a little blunt, isn't it?" Now listen to the advanced alternative. "I'm not entirely convinced this is the best approach." Can you hear how that sounds softer, more diplomatic, and more professional, while still conveying your reservations clearly? It opens the door for discussion rather than shutting it down. Let's say it together. Repeat after me. "I'm not entirely convinced this is the best approach." Excellent. Let's try one more. The simple common phrase is, "I don't know." Instead of that, an advanced speaker might say, "I'm not certain at the moment." This shows you are considering the question, even if you don't have the answer right now. Repeat it with me. "I'm not certain at the moment." This subtle but powerful shift is exactly what we will be practicing again and again throughout this masterclass. Moving beyond individual words, advanced English requires you to focus on the overall flow and music of your sentences. It's about building bridges between your ideas. Native speakers do this instinctively, weaving their thoughts together with connectors, transitions, and small conversational phrases that make their speech sound natural and engaging. Instead of delivering a series of disconnected statements, they create a fluid narrative. For example, imagine someone asks for your opinion. Instead of a simple yes, which can stop a conversation in its tracks, you might say, "Yes, I see what you mean, but on the other hand, have we considered this perspective?" This response doesn't just answer the question, it actively keeps the conversation alive, showing you're not just a passive participant, but an engaged partner in the dialogue. Let's try this with a short conversational shadowing exercise. Shadowing is where you listen and repeat almost immediately, trying to match my pace, tone, and rhythm exactly. Imagine a colleague says to you, I think we should cancel the meeting. A basic and perhaps slightly confrontational reply could be, no, let's not cancel it. Now, here is a more advanced collaborative reply. I understand your point, but perhaps we could reschedule instead of canceling altogether. This phrase validates their opinion before offering a solution. Now, let's say it together slowly, really focusing on the smooth, helpful tone. Repeat after me. I understand your point, but perhaps we could reschedule instead of canceling altogether. Fantastic. That kind of response is what builds great communication. Another critical skill for achieving advanced fluency is the ability to paraphrase. Paraphrasing is the art of expressing the same idea using different words. This is an incredibly powerful tool for several reasons. First, it's a lifesaver when you can't remember a specific word. Second, it helps you avoid repeating the same words over and over, which makes your speech sound much more dynamic and interesting. Let's practice this right now. I'll give you a sentence and I want you to think about how you could say it differently. The sentence is, she was very happy about the news. An advanced way to say this could be, she was absolutely delighted when she heard the news. Or, for a more poetic touch, the news filled her with an immense sense of joy. Now it's your turn. Pause and think of your own version. Paraphrasing is also essential for active listening. It allows you to confirm that you've understood someone correctly. For example, if your teammate says, I'm worried we don't have enough time to finish this project, you could paraphrase by replying, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're concerned we might miss the deadline. This not only shows you're paying close attention, but also helps prevent misunderstandings before they happen. Now let's sharpen our vocabulary with a quick upgrade drill. Remember, the key is not to sound unnatural by using overly complex words, but to choose advanced words that fit the context perfectly. Ready? Our first common word is big. Instead of big, depending on the context, you could use enormous, substantial, or considerable. Our next common word is small. Your advanced options could be tiny, minute, or insignificant. Finally, the everyday word help can be upgraded to assist, support, or aid. Let's put this into practice. I'll say a simple sentence and you repeat it back with the advanced word. The simple sentence is, can you help me with this? It becomes, could you assist me with this? Your turn to say it. Great. How about, it's a big problem? You could upgrade that to, it's a substantial problem. Try it. This drill trains your brain to reach for more precise vocabulary automatically. As we build our vocabulary and phrasing, we must also focus on tone and politeness strategies. In English-speaking cultures, how you say something is often just as important as what you say. Your tone can change a demand into a request or a criticism into a suggestion. For example, the command, close the window, is clear, but it can sound a bit direct or even rude depending on the situation. A more advanced and polite speaker would soften it by saying, would you mind closing the window? This simple change makes the request feel much softer and more respectful. Let's try a quick role-play exercise. Imagine you are in a meeting and you need to disagree with a colleague's idea. Instead of saying the very direct and confrontational phrase, you're wrong, you could use a more diplomatic approach. For example, I see where you're coming from, but I have a slightly different perspective. Or, that's an interesting point, but perhaps we could also consider another approach. Let's practice saying both of those phrases together, focusing on maintaining a calm, respectful, and collaborative tone. Repeat after me. I see where you're coming from, but I have a slightly different perspective. Now, the second one. That's an interesting point, but perhaps we could also consider another approach. Using phrases like these will make you a much more effective and respected communicator. Finally, for this section, let's discuss the pace of your speech. It's a common misconception among learners that speaking fast makes you sound more fluent. In reality, the opposite is often true. Rushing your words can make you harder to understand and can make you seem nervous. True advanced English is not about speed, it's about speaking with clarity, confidence, and precision. Native speakers naturally pause to gather their thoughts. They emphasize important words to make their point clear, and they use rhythm to make their message more engaging and memorable. Throughout this lesson, we will consciously practice speaking at a natural, deliberate pace, learning to use pauses as a powerful tool to give our words more impact. One of the biggest hurdles to reaching advanced fluency is the habit of translating in your head from your native language. This mental translation process slows you down, creates unnatural sentences, and prevents you from responding quickly and spontaneously in conversations. The solution is to practice thinking directly in English. To train your brain for this, you can start with a simple daily exercise. Narrate the world around you in English, silently in your mind. For example, as you're making coffee in the morning, you can think, I'm pouring the hot water over the coffee grounds. The aroma is rich and inviting. If you're walking down a busy street, you might think to yourself, the street is crowded with people rushing to their destinations, each one lost in their own world. This practice of creating an inner English monologue may feel strange at first, but the more you do it, the more natural and automatic it becomes to form advanced, descriptive sentences without any translation at all. Let's try an active version of this right now. I'll give you a basic thought in the simple English, and I want you to help me upgrade it to something more descriptive and advanced. Here is the basic thought. It's a nice day. How could we make that more vivid? An advanced version might be, it's a pleasantly warm day with a soft breeze rustling the leaves in the trees. Now let's try another one. The basic thought, she is tired. A more evocative advanced thought could be, she looks completely drained as if she's carrying the weight of a long day on her shoulders. Now repeat these advanced versions after me, focusing on matching the thoughtful, descriptive rhythm of my speech. It's a pleasantly warm day with a soft breeze rustling the leaves in the trees. And the second one. She looks completely drained, as if she's carrying the weight of a long day on her shoulders. This is how you begin to paint pictures with your words. Another essential skill for making your English sound authentic and natural is mastering idiomatic expressions. Idioms are those colorful phrases whose meanings cannot be understood just by looking at the individual words. They are a kind of cultural and linguistic shorthand. For example, the idiom to break the ice has nothing to do with breaking actual ice. It means to initiate a conversation in a social setting to make people feel more relaxed. Using idioms correctly shows a deeper understanding of the language and its culture. Let's practice using a few common idioms in full sentences. Please repeat after me. I told a lighthearted joke to break the ice at the start of the meeting. Here's another. We might need to offer a discount to sweeten the deal before the client agrees. And one more. After weeks of research, they finally hit the nail on the head with their analysis of the problem. Integrating these phrases into your vocabulary will make your English sound much more dynamic and authentic. Now, let's take those idioms and put them into a more realistic context with a mini role play. Imagine you are talking to a friend about a new project you're starting together. Your friend says, "I'm a little nervous about meeting the new team members for the first time." You can reassure them by using an idiom. You might reply, "Don't worry, I'm good at making introductions. I'll help break the ice." Then your friend might say, "I've heard the client is tough. I don't think they'll accept our first offer." You could respond with another idiom. "You might be right. Maybe we can sweeten the deal by offering some extra support services." Practicing idioms in these conversational contexts is far more effective than just memorizing a list because it helps you recall them more easily when you actually need them in a real life conversation. Beyond idioms, advanced English also involves the subtle skill of shifting your formality depending on the social setting. This is something native speakers do without even thinking. For instance, in casual conversations with friends or family, using contractions like I'm, don't, and can't is completely natural and expected. It makes you sound relaxed and friendly. However, in highly formal contexts, such as academic writing or a very important business speech, you might choose to use the full forms I am, you do not, cannot, to add clarity, weight, and a sense of seriousness to your words. Let's practice switching between these two styles. Repeat the informal version, then the formal version. Informal. I'm happy to help. Formal. I am pleased to assist you. Informal. We don't have enough time. Formal. We do not have sufficient time. Being able to consciously control this aspect of your language is a clear sign of an advanced speaker. Similarly, you should pay close attention to collocations, words that are naturally and frequently used together by native speakers. Learning collocations is like learning the secret code to fluency. For example, we say, make a decision, not do a decision. We talk about heavy rain, not strong rain. While strong rain is grammatically correct, it just sounds unnatural to a native ear. Using the correct collocations will make your English flow much more smoothly. Let's practice upgrading some sentences with stronger, more natural collocations. Here's a basic sentence. She gave a speech. A more powerful, advanced version would be, she delivered a powerful speech. Repeat that after me. Here's another. Basic. I'm very hungry. A much more natural and expressive way to say this is, I'm absolutely starving. Let's try one more. Basic. The company made changes. A more precise professional version is, the company implemented significant changes. Repeat each of these advanced versions, feeling how the collocations make the sentences sound more impactful and authentic. Now let's talk about another nuanced area, using softeners and hedging language. These are words and phrases that make your statements less direct, which is incredibly important in English for maintaining politeness and diplomacy, especially in professional or sensitive situations. For instance, instead of stating bluntly, "This is wrong," which can come across as aggressive, you could soften it by saying, "I'm not sure this is entirely correct," or "There might be a small mistake here." Instead of commanding, "You should do this," you could gently suggest, "Perhaps you might consider doing this." These small linguistic changes make a huge difference in how your message is received, making your English sound more sophisticated, considerate, and respectful. Let's practice this. I'll give you a direct sentence and I want you to repeat the softened version. Here's the direct sentence. I can't help you with that. The softened version is, I'm afraid I won't be able to assist you with that at this time. Now, here is another direct statement. You are late. A much more polite way to say this would be, it seems you've arrived a little later than we expected. Try repeating these softened versions after me, paying attention to the gentle, tactful tone. Another powerful technique we've already touched upon is shadowing. This is an exercise where you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say almost immediately, trying to copy their exact pronunciation, intonation, rhythm, and stress. It's like tracing a drawing to learn the artist's strokes. It builds muscle memory for your mouth and trains your ear to catch the subtle music of the language. Let's try shadowing a short paragraph together right now. I will say a short phrase, and I want you to repeat it right after me. Ready? Over the past few years, I've come to realize how small adjustments in the way I communicate can make a profound difference in how my message is received. By carefully choosing my words and pausing at the right moments, I can express my ideas with much greater clarity and persuasion. Excellent work! This is precisely the kind of conscious practice that accelerates your journey to advanced fluency. And of course, we must continue to upgrade our adjectives and adverbs. Relying on the word very is a common habit for learners, but advanced speakers have a much wider range of descriptive words. Instead of saying very good, you could say excellent, outstanding, or superb. Instead of very bad, you might use terrible, awful, or dreadful. Instead of very fast, you could say rapidly or swiftly. Let's turn this into a quick game. I'll give you a sentence that uses very, and I want you to replace it with a single, more powerful word. For the sentence, the view from the top is very beautiful. Your upgrade could be, the view from the top is breathtaking. For he runs very fast, you could say, he runs incredibly swiftly. Actively seeking out these stronger, more precise words will make your speech far more engaging and impressive. Finally, for now, please remember that advanced fluency is not only about what you say, it is fundamentally about how well you listen. You must practice deep, active listening so that you can understand not just the words, but the nuance, tone, and underlying meaning in what others are saying. This is what allows you to respond naturally and appropriately. Make a habit of listening to English language podcasts, interviews, and films, but don't just have them on in the background. Pay close attention to how skilled speakers use pauses for effect, how they emphasize certain words to make a point, and how they use subtle vocabulary to convey precise emotions. When you hear a phrase or a sentence structure that you admire, don't just let it pass by. Pause, write it down, and practice saying it yourself until it feels natural and becomes a part of your own active vocabulary. One of the most powerful markers of advanced English is your ability to use nuance, that subtle, delicate layer of meaning that completely changes how your words are received. Nuance is what allows a speaker to choose "I'd rather not," which is gentle and personal instead of the blunt "I don't want to." It's the difference between saying "you're right" and "I see your point," which acknowledges the other person's perspective without necessarily agreeing with it. These small differences carry significant emotional weight, and mastering them can make you sound more diplomatic, professional, thoughtful, or warm. Let's practice injecting nuance into our speech. I'll give you a very direct sentence, and we will rephrase it together with more tact. The direct statement, "Stop talking." This is very rude. An advanced, nuanced version would be, "Could we perhaps continue this conversation a little later? I need to focus right now. Let's try another." The direct phrase, I don't like this. A more nuanced response would be, it's not quite to my taste, or I'm not sure this is the right fit for me. Repeat each of these nuanced versions slowly after me, paying close attention to how they feel softer, more polite, and more considerate. Beyond nuance, advanced fluency also involves mastering the art of extending conversations naturally. Many learners are taught to answer questions directly, but this can sometimes make a conversation feel flat or like an interview. Advanced speakers know how to give an answer and then add a follow-up comment or question to pass the conversational ball back to the other person. For example, if someone asks, how was your weekend? Instead of just saying, it was good, and letting the conversation die, you could say, it was really relaxing, thanks. I went hiking with some friends, and the weather was absolutely perfect. How about yours? Did you get up to anything interesting? This simple addition keeps the dialogue alive and shows you are genuinely interested in the other person. Let's try a few. I'll ask a question. I want you to imagine giving a short answer and then adding something extra. Here's the question. Have you seen that new science fiction movie? Your short answer might be, yes, I have. Now let's extend it. Yes, I have. The storyline was incredibly gripping, though I found the ending a bit predictable. Have you had a chance to watch it yet? This is how real, engaging conversations are built. Another essential and often overlooked part of speaking advanced English is storytelling. We are all natural storytellers, and when you can tell a story well in English, you create a powerful connection with your listener and keep them completely engaged. A good, simple story in English usually has a clear beginning to set the scene, a sequence of events in the middle, and a satisfying conclusion or feeling at the end. Let's do a quick storytelling practice together. I'm going to tell you a very short story, and I want you to repeat it after me, focusing on the flow and the descriptive details. Last Saturday, I decided to explore a small, independent cafe I had never been to before. As soon as I stepped inside, the warm, comforting smell of freshly baked bread and roasted coffee filled the air. I ordered a simple cappuccino, and the barista smiled so warmly as she handed it to me. It turned out to be one of the best, most memorable cups of coffee I've ever had. Now, I want you to try telling that same story, but in your own words. You can change the details, but try to keep the same structure: beginning, middle, and end. This kind of practice prepares you to share your own experiences in a compelling way. To make your stories and your explanations flow smoothly, you must become a master of using connectors. These are the words and phrases that link your ideas together logically, guiding your listener through your train of thought. Words like however, therefore, on the other hand, as a result, and meanwhile are like signposts on a road. They make your speech coherent and easy to follow. Let's see the difference they make. Here is a basic example. I studied hard. I passed the exam, then the ideas are disconnected. Now let's use a connector. I studied hard, and as a result, I passed the exam. See how that flows? Let's try another. Basic. I wanted to go for a walk. It started raining. Advanced. I wanted to go for a walk. However, it started raining. Repeat these advanced versions after me, paying attention to the rhythm and logical flow created by the connectors. I studied hard, and as a result, I passed the exam. I wanted to go for a walk. However, it started raining. As you connect your ideas more smoothly, Another strategy to sound more advanced and confident is to eliminate filler words. These are the sounds we make when we're thinking, like and like, or the repetitive use of you know. While it's perfectly natural to pause when you speak, replacing those filler sounds with a moment of silence or a thoughtful transitional phrase makes you sound far more articulate and in control. Instead of, just take a quiet breath. Instead of peppering your speech with, you know, you can use phrases like, let's see, what I mean is, or a simple, well, to signal you are formulating your thought. Let's try to feel the difference. Here is a sentence with fillers. I think we should, wait until tomorrow to make a decision. Now, here is the advanced version, replacing the fillers with a deliberate pause. I think we should wait until tomorrow to make a decision. Can you hear how that short, silent pause actually makes the sentence stronger and more confident? Let's also work on active vocabulary expansion. Advanced speakers don't just know more words, they know which word to use for a specific context to be more precise. It's about having a range of options. For example, instead of always saying get better, you could say improve, progress, or enhance, depending on what you mean. Instead of the simple verb fix, you might use repair for something physical, restore for something old, or resolve for a problem. Let's do a quick upgrade drill. I'll say a common sentence and you'll repeat it with an upgraded, more precise verb. We need to fix this problem. The advanced version, we need to resolve this issue. I want to get better at cooking. Advanced, I want to improve my cooking skills. She's making her English better every day. A more elegant version, she's enhancing her English skills day by day. Repeat each of those powerful sentences after me. Another incredibly useful social skill is learning how to interrupt politely, which is often necessary in fast-paced meetings or lively group discussions. A direct interruption like, wait, I want to say something, can sound abrupt and rude. An advanced speaker, however, has a toolkit of phrases to enter the conversation gracefully. You might say, sorry to interrupt, but may I add something here? Or, if I could just jump in for a moment, I think that's a crucial point. These phrases show respect for the current speaker while allowing you to contribute your idea. Let's practice saying these. Repeat after me with a polite and collaborative tone. Sorry to interrupt, but may I share a quick thought? And another one. If I could just jump in for a second, I'd like to mention. Using these will help you participate more actively and effectively in any group conversation. Now let's practice summarizing, another hallmark of an advanced communicator. When someone tells you a long story or explains a complex idea, being able to summarize their main points shows that you were listening carefully and understood them completely. For example, if your friend talks for 2 minutes about how stressful their workday was with deadlines and difficult clients, you might say, wow, so it sounds like your schedule had been completely overwhelming lately. This validation is a powerful communication tool. Let's try it. I'll give you a short paragraph and I want you to summarize it in one sentence. Here's the paragraph. I've been working late every night this week trying to finish this huge project. On top of that, my boss keeps adding new tasks to my plate, and I honestly haven't had more than a few hours of sleep each night. A good summary would be something like, so you've been overloaded with work and are feeling completely exhausted from the lack of rest. Now you try summarizing that situation in your own words. As you practice all of these individual skills, Please remember that reaching advanced fluency is not a destination you arrive at overnight. It is a journey. It's the result of consistent daily practice, of careful, active listening, and of having the courage to experiment with new words and phrases. Every single time you speak English is a new opportunity to refine your pronunciation, to stretch your vocabulary, and to build your self assurance. Think of it exactly like exercising a muscle. The more you challenge it and use it consistently, the stronger, more flexible, and more reliable it becomes. One of the most effective and subtle ways to sound advanced in English is to master the art of emphasis and sentence stress. Emphasis isn't just about speaking more loudly, it's about strategically deciding which words in a sentence deserve more weight and focus, because this is how you guide your listener to your core message. For example, take the simple sentence, I didn't say she stole the money. The meaning of this sentence changes completely depending on which word you stress. Let's try this together. First, emphasize the word I. I didn't say she stole the money. This implies that someone else said it, but not you. Now, let's emphasize the word she. I didn't say she stole the money. This implies you think someone else stole it. Finally, let's stress money. I didn't say she stole the money, which implies she might have stolen something else. This incredible power to change meaning with just your voice is a key skill for advanced communication. Advanced English also means using rich, descriptive language to paint a vivid picture in your listener's mind. Don't just report the facts. Bring your experiences to life. For example, instead of saying, I had dinner, you could create an image by saying, I enjoyed a wonderfully comforting bowl of homemade pasta topped with fresh basil and perfectly melted cheese. Instead of the flat statement, it was raining, you could say, the rain poured down in shimmering silver sheets, tapping a soft, rhythmic melody against the window pane. Let's practice transforming the basic into the beautiful. I'll give you a simple sentence, and you try to expand it into a more vivid version. Here is the basic sentence. I went for a walk. Your advanced version could be, I strolled through the quiet, lamplit streets, breathing in the crisp, cool evening air. Let's do one more. Basic. She laughed. Advanced. She burst into a warm, genuine laugh that seemed to light up her entire face. This is how you make your English memorable. Another essential aspect of advanced speaking is mastering your intonation. That is, the natural rise and fall of your voice as you speak. Intonation is the music of language. It adds emotion, clarity, and meaning to your words. For example, when you ask a simple yes or no question in English, your voice usually rises at the end. Try it with me. Are you coming to the party? Hear that upward lift? But when you make a simple statement, your voice typically falls slightly at the end. I'm coming to the party. That falling tone signals completeness. Now let's practice this in a short conversational exchange. Repeat after me, paying close attention to the intonation. First, the question with a rising tone. Would you like to join us for dinner? And now the answer with a falling tone. I would love to join you for dinner. Mastering this musicality is crucial for sounding natural. Let's also work on the skill of giving detailed, interesting answers. When someone asks you a question like, how are you? The most common and automatic reply is, I'm fine, thanks. An advanced speaker, however, sees this as an opportunity to open a real conversation by adding more information. For example, I'm doing really well, thanks. I've just started working on a fascinating new project at work. And while it's been challenging, it's also incredibly exciting. This gives the other person something to ask about. Let's practice this now. I will ask you a question, and I want you to invent an answer that is more than just one sentence. Here's the question: what did you do last weekend? You could say something like, I spent Saturday visiting a local art exhibition, which was fantastic. And on Sunday, I met up with a few old friends for a long, lazy brunch by the river. This is how you turn simple questions into meaningful conversations. A very important part of this is learning to create conversational balance. This means not dominating the conversation by talking too much, but also not disappearing from it by being too passive. Advanced speakers are excellent listeners, and they show their interest by asking thoughtful follow-up questions. For example, if someone tells you, I went to Paris for the first time last month, don't just say, oh, nice. Keep the conversation flowing by asking, wow, that sounds absolutely amazing. What was your favorite part of the trip? Or, I've always wanted to go. Was there a particular place that completely took your breath away? This makes your conversation partner feel heard and valued. Let's practice this right now. I'll give you a statement, and you think of a good follow-up question. Here's the statement: I've recently started learning how to play the guitar. Your follow-up question could be, that's fantastic. What kind of songs are you hoping to learn how to play? We should also practice achieving clarity in our pronunciation without ever sounding robotic or over-exaggerated. Advanced English isn't about pronouncing every single letter perfectly. It's about finding a clear, natural rhythm that is easy for listeners to follow. Let's try shadowing these sentences with me. We will say them slowly at first, and then a little faster, focusing on the natural flow. Every single word I speak carries my intended meaning to the listener. Using pauses gives my words the space they need to be fully understood. Remember, clarity comes from deliberate practice, not from rushing your speech. Another great technique for sounding polished and thoughtful is learning to reformulate questions before you answer them. This is when you repeat a question in your own words. For example, if someone asks you a complex question like, how do you effectively manage and prioritize your tasks when you're under pressure? You might start your answer by saying, so you're asking about my strategy for dealing with stress and a heavy workload? Well, I usually start by... This simple technique does two things. It confirms that you've understood the question correctly, and it gives you a valuable moment to organize your thoughts before you speak, making your answer sound much more structured and confident. Let's try it. I'll ask a question. You begin your answer by reformulating it. Question: what's your favorite way to spend a holiday? You might begin your answer by saying, my favorite way to spend a holiday? That's a great question. For me, it has to be exploring a new city and just immersing myself in the local food and culture. Advanced English also benefits greatly from the use of metaphor and analogy. These powerful literary devices allow you to explain complex ideas by comparing them to something simpler and more familiar, which makes your speech more engaging and memorable. For example, instead of just saying, learning English is a long and difficult process, you might use an analogy. Learning English is like planting a garden. It requires patience, consistent care, and a lot of time before you can truly see it blossom. Let's try to create a few together. I'll give you a topic, and you think of a metaphor or analogy for it. Here's the topic: improving your public speaking skills. You might say, Improving your public speaking skills is like training for a marathon. You have to build up your strength and endurance over time, step by step. This kind of language elevates your communication from simple to profound. Finally, always remember that confidence is a critical component of fluency. You can have an excellent vocabulary and perfect grammar, but if you speak too quietly or with hesitation, your message will lose its impact. True confidence comes from consistent practice and from accepting that making mistakes is a natural and essential part of the learning process. Every single advanced English speaker you admire was once a beginner who made countless mistakes. The only difference is that they kept practicing, they kept learning, and they kept speaking. So, as we move forward in this master class and in your own language journey, I encourage you to speak boldly, repeat our exercises often, and most importantly, enjoy the incredible process of refining your English voice. One of the most effective strategies to sound truly advanced in English is to master the use of what I call precision phrases. These are short, elegant expressions that communicate your meaning with perfect clarity and confidence without any unnecessary words. These are not just vocabulary upgrades. They are sophisticated sentence patterns that make you sound sharp and professional. For example, instead of the common phrase, "I need more time to think about this," you could say, "Let me reflect on this for a moment." Instead of a blunt, "That's not true," you could use the more tactful phrase, "I'm afraid that's not entirely accurate." These kinds of expressions give you incredible control over your tone and help you create a polished, professional impression in any situation. Let's try this together. I will say the basic version, and I want you to repeat the advanced precision phrase after me. "I don't know" becomes "I'm not entirely certain." "I don't agree" becomes "I happen to see it differently." Mastering these will instantly elevate your speech. In addition to precision, advanced English involves developing your ability to give detailed, multi-layered explanations, not just short, single-point replies. For example, if someone asks you, "Why do you enjoy reading?" a basic answer might be, "Because it's relaxing." An advanced answer, however, would add more depth. "I find it relaxing, certainly, but it also allows me to explore new perspectives, escape into entirely different worlds, and continuously improve my own vocabulary at the same time." Notice how adding just 2 or 3 supporting details makes the answer sound so much richer and more intelligent. Let's practice this skill. I'll give you a question, and I want you to think of an answer with more than one reason. Here's the question: why do you enjoy living in your city? You could formulate an answer like this: "I truly enjoy living here, primarily because it's a very safe and clean environment." On top of that, the community is incredibly friendly, and there are plenty of beautiful parks and engaging cultural activities to explore. Another crucial skill, especially in professional life, is learning how to handle misunderstandings politely and effectively. Sometimes people will mishear or misinterpret what you've said. Instead of reacting defensively with a phrase like, "That's not what I said at all," you can handle the situation with grace. A more constructive approach would be to say, "Let me try to clarify what I meant." Or, "I think there might have been a small misunderstanding. What I was trying to say is..." This approach not only corrects the misunderstanding without assigning blame, but also keeps the conversation comfortable and collaborative. It shows that your priority is clear communication, not being right. Let's practice those essential phrases for handling misunderstandings one more time, really focusing on a calm, problem-solving tone. Repeat after me. let me clarify what I meant. And the other, I think there might have been a misunderstanding. What I was trying to say is, using these shows that your goal is connection, not conflict. Now, let's talk about another subtle but powerful element of advanced speech: discourse markers. These are the small words and phrases that help to structure your speech and signal your attitude towards what you're about to say. Think of them as the grease that makes the wheels of conversation turn smoothly. Words like well, actually, frankly, in fact, to be honest, and on the whole guide your listener and manage their expectations. For example, starting a sentence with well dot dot, as in, well, I think we could try a different approach, sounds much softer and more thoughtful than jumping straight into the suggestion. Let's do a quick drill to get a feel for this. I'll give you a sentence and you add a discourse marker to the beginning. The sentence is, I believe we should start early. You could say, well, I believe we should start early. How about this sentence? I like this idea. To add emphasis, you could say, actually, I really like this idea. These small words add a layer of personality and naturalness to your speech. Another hallmark of an advanced English speaker is their ability to use a variety of sentence structures. Many learners fall into the trap of using sentences of the same length and rhythm over and over, which can sound monotonous. To make your speech more dynamic and engaging, you need to mix short, impactful sentences with longer, more detailed ones. Think of it like music. You need both short notes and long, flowing melodies. For example, you might make a clear, strong point by saying, the meeting went very well. Then you can follow that with a longer sentence to provide the details. We discussed several important updates, including the new project launch, the proposed budget adjustments, and the revised team assignments for the next quarter. The short sentence grabs the listener's attention, and the long sentence provides the rich context. Let's practice this. I'll give you a basic, short answer, and you expand on it with a longer, more detailed sentence. Here's the basic sentence. The trip was fun. Now let's expand it. The trip was incredibly fun. We visited 3 different historical cities, tried all the local dishes we could find, and met some absolutely incredible people along the way. Just as you vary your sentence structure, you should also practice changing your register. This means skillfully moving between formal and informal speech. Advanced speakers do this automatically, adjusting their language to fit the situation and the person they are speaking to. Let's try switching between these registers to feel the difference. Here's an informal sentence. I'm gonna grab a coffee. In a more formal context, you would say, I am going to get a coffee. Here is another informal example. Can you help me out? And the formal equivalent? Would you be able to assist me with this? Repeat both versions of each pair after me, noticing how the word choice and structure create a completely different feeling. Another incredibly useful practice for making your conversations more dynamic is active listening. This means showing the speaker that you are engaged and paying close attention through small verbal signals. In English, this is often done with short, encouraging words like right, I see, exactly, that's true, or by asking short, clarifying follow-up questions. This turns a monologue into a dialogue. For example, if a friend says, I've been feeling so stressed at work lately, a simple active listening response might be, I see. Is it because of the upcoming deadline? This shows you're not just hearing, but you're understanding and thinking with them. Let's practice this right now. I'll give you a statement, and you respond with an active listening phrase plus a thoughtful follow up question. Here's the statement: I've been learning to speak Spanish for 2 years. You could reply with, That's great. What was it that made you decide to start learning? Finally, as we work on all these techniques, remember that the ultimate goal of using advanced English is not to sound artificial or like you're reading from a textbook. It's about sounding natural, authentic, and precise. The goal is for your language to feel effortless, not forced. That's why it is so important to practice these skills in realistic scenarios, even if it's just by talking to yourself. The more you use these advanced patterns in real life, the more they will become an integrated part of your natural speech. And every single time you choose a more precise phrase, link your ideas together smoothly, or listen more actively, you are taking another firm step toward true, confident fluency. One of the keys to sounding composed and intelligent in English is developing the skill of framing your ideas before you deliver them. Framing simply means giving a short introduction to what you're about to say so your listener can mentally prepare and follow your thinking more easily. For example, instead of jumping straight into a statement like, We need to change the plan, which can sound abrupt, you could frame it by saying, Considering the recent project updates, I think we might need to reconsider our plan. This framing softens the message and provides context. Let's practice this. A basic statement: This is a good idea. A framed version: From my perspective, this seems like a very good idea. Another basic one: We can't finish this today. The framed version: Given the amount of time we have left, it's unlikely we'll be able to finish this today. Repeat each of these framed versions after me, noticing how they sound more thoughtful. Advanced English also makes confident use of speculation language. These are the phrases you can use when you are not 100% certain about something. Using this language allows you to contribute ideas and possibilities without sounding too absolute or dogmatic. Phrases like, It seems that, I would imagine, there's a good chance that, and it's likely that, are perfect for this. For instance, It seems that the weather might improve by this weekend sounds more balanced and realistic than the definite statement, The weather will improve. Let's try to soften some direct statements. The basic sentence, They will be late. The advanced speculative version: It's quite likely they'll be running a little late. And another, She's not interested. A softer version: From what I can tell, it seems she's not particularly interested. Another powerful skill is learning to add emotional color to your language. This means choosing words that reflect not just the objective facts, but also the feelings and attitudes involved in a situation. It brings your language to life. For example, the sentence, He spoke about the new project, is purely factual. But if you say, He spoke passionately about the new project, you've told us so much more. Similarly, She answered the question becomes, She answered the question reluctantly if you want to convey her hesitation. Let's practice adding this emotional layer. Here's a plain sentence: They accepted the offer. Now, with color, They eagerly accepted the offer. Another plain one: He walked into the room. Let's make it more vivid. He walked confidently into the room. We should also become comfortable with using contrast structures, sentences that elegantly show two opposing sides of a single idea. This demonstrates balanced and complex thinking. For instance, you could say, I genuinely enjoy living in the city, although I sometimes miss the peace and quiet of the countryside. Or in a work context, this new software option is cheaper, but on the other hand, it might not be as reliable in the long run. Let's try creating a contrast. Here's the first idea. I like my job. Now let's add the contrast. While I do like my job, it can be incredibly stressful at times. Here's another idea. The weather is nice today. Adding a contrast, the weather is beautiful today, although it's a little windier than I'd prefer. An essential advanced skill, especially in professional settings, is forward planning in your conversation. This simply means hinting at what you're going to talk about next, which helps your listener follow along. For example, in a presentation, you might say, "In my talk today, I'd like to start by outlining the main challenges we faced, and then I'll move on to share some of the innovative solutions we developed." This technique works just as well in casual storytelling. Let's practice. A basic opening. Let's talk about the trip. A planned opening. First, I'll tell you a bit about how we planned the trip, and then I'll share the hilarious story of what happened as soon as we arrived. Let's also focus on using relative clauses to combine our ideas and make our sentences more sophisticated and detailed. Well, instead of using short, choppy sentences like, "The man is my neighbor," "He is wearing a blue shirt," you can combine them into one fluid sentence. "The man who is wearing a blue shirt is my neighbor." Let's try a few more. Here are the basic sentences. The book is very interesting. It is on the table. The advanced version. The book that's on the table is very interesting. One more. Basic. The woman is a doctor. She lives next door. Combined and advanced. The woman who lives next door is a doctor. Another sign of advanced fluency is the ability to handle interruptions gracefully. If someone interrupts you while you are speaking, you don't need to get flustered. You can pause politely, let them speak, and then use a simple phrase to get back on track. Phrases like, "as I was saying," or "if I could just finish my point," are perfect for this. They are polite but firm. Let's practice them. Repeat after me. "As I was saying, we still need to gather more information." And the other one. "If I could just finish my point, the core of the idea is to launch next month." We also need to practice the art of echoing. This is a simple but effective technique where you repeat a key part of what someone has just said to show interest, surprise, or to confirm that you've understood. For example, if your friend says, "I've decided I'm moving to another country," you might reply with an echo. "You're moving to another country? Wow, that's exciting news." This makes the conversation feel much more interactive and engaging. Let's try it. I'll give you a statement, and you respond with an echo. Statement. "I just got a promotion at work." Your echo. "You got a promotion? That's fantastic. Congratulations." Another statement. "I'm learning how to cook Italian food." Your echo. "You're learning to cook Italian food? That sounds delicious." Finally, in this part, I want you to remember that advanced English is fundamentally about awareness. It's a heightened awareness of your tone of voice, of your vocabulary choices, of the rhythm of your speech, and most importantly, of how your words make the other person feel. Every conversation, every interaction is a fresh opportunity to practice and refine these essential skills. The more you practice with this sense of awareness, the more these advanced patterns will become second nature, a part of your authentic voice in English. Another crucial element of advanced fluency is mastering cause and effect language. This means clearly linking ideas so your listener understands not only what happened, but why it happened. Instead of stating a simple fact like, "I missed the train," you can provide a richer explanation. I missed the train because my earlier meeting ran over time. Or, due to the unexpectedly heavy traffic, I ended up arriving late for the appointment. Connectors like because, as a result, therefore, and due to make your speech more logical and complete. Let's try this together. Here's a basic statement. I couldn't go to the party. Let's add the cause. I couldn't go to the party because I was feeling a bit unwell. Another one, basic. We sold more products last month. Advanced. We sold more products last month as a result of our new digital marketing strategy. Building on that, we should also work on our persuasive language. The words and phrases that help you influence someone's opinion respectfully and effectively. It's not about being aggressive. It's about being convincing. Using expressions like, I strongly believe that. It's certainly worth considering, or one possible solution could be. Makes your suggestions sound both confident and thoughtful. Let's practice. A basic suggestion, you should try this. The advanced persuasive version, it's definitely worth trying this new approach. Another one, basic, we must start now. Advanced, I strongly believe we should get started on this as soon as possible. Repeat each of these after me, focusing on a confident and collaborative tone. A particularly sophisticated skill that advanced speakers possess is the ability to reframe a negative situation into something more constructive or positive. This is a powerful tool in both professional and personal life. For example, instead of saying, "This problem is too big for us to solve," you could reframe it. This is certainly a challenging problem, but it's also a fantastic opportunity for us to find a truly creative solution. Instead of the self-defeating thought, I'm not good at this, you can reframe it into a growth mindset. I'm still in the learning process, and I can feel myself getting better with each attempt. Let's try this together. Here is the negative. We don't have enough time. The reframed positive. We have limited time, so let's focus our energy on the most important priorities. And another. Negative. I made a mistake. Reframed. I learned something incredibly valuable from that experience. We should also talk about emphasis structures. These are special sentence patterns that allow you to grammatically highlight the most important part of your message. They make your main point impossible to miss. For example, instead of just saying, I need more practice, you can emphasize it. What I really need is more practice. Or instead of communication is most important, you can say, the thing that matters most is communication. Let's practice this. Basic. I need more time. With emphasis. What I really need right now is a little more time. Basic. I like this part the best. With emphasis. The part that I like the best is this one right here. A powerful tool for creating natural conversational flow is linking backwards. This is when you explicitly connect what you're about to say to something your conversation partner just said. It shows you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but you're building the conversation together. For example, if your friend says, I had so much trouble finding the restaurant, you could start your next story with, speaking of finding places, that reminds me of the time I got completely lost in the middle of a big city. This creates a seamless and natural transition. Let's try it. Statement. I absolutely love trying new and exotic foods. Your linked reply could be, speaking of new foods, I recently tasted a dish I'd never even heard of before, and it was amazing. Advanced English also benefits from the confident use of conditional sentences. The if sentences that allow you to talk about real possibilities, future plans, and imaginary situations. For example, if I had more free time, I would learn another language. Or a more certain one, if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, it boils. Let's practice turning simple statements into conditional ones. Basic, I'll call you tomorrow. Conditional, if I have a free moment tomorrow, I'll definitely give you a call. Basic, we will be late. Conditional, if we don't leave right now, we will certainly be late. You should also develop your skills for summarizing and wrapping up your thoughts clearly. This is especially important at the end of meetings, presentations, or even long stories. You can use phrases like so, in short, to sum up, or in conclusion, to signal to your listener that you are about to state the main point. Let's practice. Here's a long version. We've been working hard all week testing the new software, fixing the bugs we found, and training the entire team on how to use the new updates. Now the summary. So, in short, we've made a great deal of progress this week. As we near the end of our masterclass, I want you to remember that advanced English fluency is about building layer upon layer of skill. You won't master every single technique instantly, and that's perfectly okay. But the more you consciously use these strategies, the more natural and automatic they will become. Your goal isn't to memorize a list of perfect sentences, but rather to have so many useful patterns and tools in your mind that they come out effortlessly and appropriately in your real everyday conversations. One final sign of truly advanced English is the ability to add qualifiers to your statements. Qualifiers are words and phrases like generally speaking, to some extent, in most cases, or for the most part that make your language more precise and accurate. Instead of making a broad, absolute statement like, this method works, which might not always be true, you could say, this method generally works in most situations. Let's practice. A basic statement, I agree with you. A more qualified, nuanced version, I mostly agree with you, though I do see one or 2 points a little differently. Another basic one, it's easy. A more realistic version. It's relatively easy once you understand the basic principles. Advanced English also requires strong and clear agreement and disagreement skills. For strong agreement, you can move beyond a simple I agree and say, I couldn't agree more, or that's exactly how I see it, we're on the same page. For polite disagreement, instead of you're wrong, you can say, I see your point, but I have a slightly different view on this. Let's practice saying these key phrases. Repeat after me. I couldn't agree more. That's exactly how I see it. And for disagreeing, I see your point, but I have a different view. Another advanced technique for structuring your speech is called signposting. This is when you guide your listener through your ideas using clear verbal cues like, first of all, moving on to my next point. That brings me to the issue of, and finally. This makes longer explanations incredibly organized and easy to follow. Let's try it. Imagine someone asks, can you tell me about your trip? A well-signposted answer would be, of course. First of all, we visited the capital city, which was just full of beautiful historic architecture. Then moving on from the city, we explored some smaller, charming towns in the countryside. And finally, we spent a few relaxing days on the beach. We should also practice using time expressions that sound more natural and less like a textbook. For example, instead of always saying, in the future, a native speaker might say, down the line, or in the long run. Instead of right now, you might hear, at the moment. Let's practice. Basic. I can't help you right now. Advanced. I can't help you at the moment, I'm afraid. Basic. We'll see what happens in the future. Advanced. We'll see how things develop further down the line. Another essential skill is learning to clarify and check for understanding. If you're not entirely sure you understood what someone meant, it's always better to ask. You can say something like, just to clarify, do you mean? Or, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that. Let's practice. Imagine someone says, I think we should move the team meeting to Friday. Your clarifying question could be, just to clarify, you mean we'll reschedule it for this coming Friday. We should also cover the importance of parallel structures. This is a grammatical principle where you repeat a specific grammar pattern to make your sentence more balanced, rhythmic, and memorable. For example, instead of the unbalanced sentence, I enjoy reading books, watching movies, and to travel to new places, the parallel version is I enjoy reading books, watching movies, and traveling to new places. Let's fix another one. Unbalanced. She is smart, works very hard, and friendly. The balanced, advanced version. She is smart, hardworking, and friendly. Another sign of an advanced speaker is the ability to express uncertainty in a way that still sounds confident and thoughtful. Instead of a simple, I don't know, you can use more sophisticated phrases. For instance, I'm not entirely sure, but my initial thought is, or, it's hard to say for certain, yet it seems that. Let's practice this. Basic. I don't know if this is the right answer. Advanced. I'm not entirely sure, but this seems like the correct answer. Basic. Maybe this will work. Advanced. This could potentially work, though we would need to test it thoroughly first. Finally, in this section, I want you to remember that advanced English is as much about connection as it is about correctness. A grammatically perfect sentence that feels cold or distant won't build rapport. That's why in this masterclass, we are not just polishing your grammar, we are shaping the way you interact, think, and respond in English so that it becomes an authentic and powerful part of your natural identity. One of the ultimate hallmarks of advanced communication is the ability to adapt your style depending on your listener. This skill, called audience awareness, means consciously adjusting your vocabulary, complexity, and tone based on who you're speaking to. For example, if you were explaining the flu to a young child, you would say, it's when you get sick with a fever and feel very sleepy and tired. However, if you were explaining it to a doctor, you would use precise technical language. It's a viral influenza infection that typically presents with fever, myalgia, fatigue, and acute respiratory symptoms. Being able to shift between these styles effortlessly is what makes your English truly versatile. Another powerful technique is preempting questions. That is, anticipating and answering possible doubts before they are even asked. This shows foresight and makes your explanations more thorough. For example, instead of just saying, this new plan will save us money, you could say, this new plan will save us a significant amount of money. And in case you're wondering about the implementation timeline, it will take approximately 3 months to be fully operational. Let's practice. Basic. I'm going on a trip next month. Preempted. I'm going on a trip to Japan next month. And yes, don't worry, I've already arranged for a colleague to cover all of my work while I'm away. We should also focus on softening our disagreements even further, especially in sensitive conversations. Using a validating phrase like, I can certainly see why you would think that, or That's a very valid point. Before you introduce your own perspective can make a huge difference. It shows respect for the other person's opinion. Let's try it. Basic. I disagree. Advanced. I can see your point, but I have another perspective on this. Basic. That's not correct. Advanced. That's an interesting point, although my own understanding of the data is slightly different. Advanced English speakers also use what I call anticipation language, expressions that prepare the listener for what's coming next, often creating a sense of intrigue. For example, you might be surprised to hear this, but we actually finished the project ahead of schedule. Or, what I'm about to say may sound a little unusual, yet I believe it's the key to our problem. This keeps your listener's attention fixed on you. Let's practice. Basic. It's hard to believe. Advanced. You might find this hard to believe, but basic. This is very important. Advanced. What I'm about to tell you now is really very important. Another skill that helps you sound advanced is using a wider range of precision adverbs. Instead of overusing generic words like really or very, you can use more specific and impactful adverbs like highly, particularly, especially, exceptionally, or absolutely. Let's practice. Basic. She's a very talented musician. Advanced. She's an exceptionally talented musician. Basic. It's a really important meeting. Advanced. It's an absolutely essential meeting. We should also practice expanding on feedback. Instead of giving a short, generic compliment like, good job, you can explain why it was good, making your feedback more valuable. For example, that was a really strong opening to your presentation. The statistics you used were clear and impactful. To make it even better, you could consider adding a short personal story to illustrate the point. Let's try. Basic. Nice work on that report. Expanded. That was excellent work on the report. It's concise and very well structured. You might make it even stronger by adding a few more specific examples in the final section. Another sign of advanced fluency is being able to change the subject smoothly when necessary, using clever transitional phrases like speaking of which or that reminds me of. This keeps the conversation feeling natural rather than disjointed. Let's practice. Basic. Let's talk about something else. Advanced. That's interesting. Speaking of future plans, have you decided where you're going for your holiday yet? Varying your tone of voice, rising for a question, lowering for a serious point, and adding warmth for personal stories also makes your English much more engaging. Try this with me. Say, I couldn't believe it. And then it actually happened, with an excited, rising tone. Now say, it is imperative that we take this matter seriously, with a lower, steady, more formal tone. Finally, a wonderful technique for building rapport is called mirroring. This is where you subtly use some of the same specific words or phrases that the other person uses to create a sense of connection and show that you are truly listening. If someone says, I've been completely swamped at work this week, you might reply, I know exactly what you mean. I've been swamped as well. This shows empathy and shared experience. Let's practice. Statement. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by all this. Your mirrored reply. I can completely understand that. I've been feeling overwhelmed lately as well. As we now conclude this masterclass, I want you to remember that our goal today was never just to learn a list of new phrases. It was to unlock the confident, articulate, and intelligent speaker that is already inside you. True fluency isn't about achieving perfection, It is about the freedom of authentic expression. So here is your challenge, your very next step. Choose just one single technique we discussed today, whether it's adding nuance, framing an idea, using a connector, or simply pausing instead of using a filler word, and deliberately, consciously use it in your very next English conversation. That is how this journey continues, one small, confident step at a time. Thank you for investing this time in yourself and in your voice. You now have the tools not just to speak English, but to truly command it. Until our next lesson here at English in Moments, stay curious, stay confident, and continue to share your unique and valuable voice with the world.